Hello, Leo. How are you? This is your reading, your tarot reading for love and relationships for the month of March 2019. And for you new people, what you're seeing are me shuffling the cards. And very shortly, I'm going to just go ahead and lay your cards out. So you're free to pause the video if you want to look at the cards more closely. As I lay them out, there are going to be 9 cards, 3 by 3, 3 rows, 3 columns. And I will focus on the center card because the center card is the root or the theme of your reading. It tells me what this is all about. And then you have your major arcana cards. Those are the major cards in the tarot that look at the bigger picture, things that are behind the scenes. And then I'll just do a reading. The first row will be past, the next row in the middle will be present, and then the last row at the bottom will be the future. And then after I do that main reading, so you're looking at 9 cards, what's going to happen next is that I'm going to shuffle and pull an outcome card, that 10th card, which will wrap everything up and tell you how, where, all of these events and issues are going to end up. So let me just get started with that middle card that's in the middle here. You've got 4 of Cups. Now the 4 of Cups is just basically being a self-centered brat. Okay, so you see that boy, he's ignoring the cup. The lovely mermaid is offering him a cup, which is water, which is connected to love and feelings, but he's not having it. He just wants to be pouty. He wants to be difficult emotionally. And sometimes it can mean someone is ignoring love. They're so focused on what they lost and what they don't have. They're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at the person who's right under their nose. So for some of you Leos, this card told me a couple things. That some of you are dealing with partners who don't appreciate you the way they should. Some of you might be having partners who are emotionally wishy-washy, and they just want attention from you, and they feel jealous or resentful of you because you are confident, you're more self-assured. So that 4 of Cups, yeah, a little bit of brattiness and being selfish and self-centered and making it all about you. And don't assume that this might not necessarily apply to you. Another heads up, it is Mercury retrograde right now. It started March 5th, and it'll probably continue for a couple more weeks towards the end, around March 20th to 23rd. Mercury retrograde, Mercury is the energy, it's the planet of communication, making plans. So if you and your partner decided, for instance, to go on a trip, that trip would end up being canceled. Your partner would say, I can't do this, we'll have to reschedule, and then you two have an argument. So Mercury retrograde, usually the usual advice is, 1, be careful what you say, because chances are you might want to take it back. There might be a big misunderstanding. Don't commit to anything. Don't assume that your plans are laid in stone, because a bunch of issues might come up to where plans will be canceled. For instance, you're trying to, you're taking a flight and all of a sudden your flight is canceled. That's what I'm talking about. But in relationships, yes, Mercury retrograde can mean many misunderstandings, issues with communication, taking that on board, that's going to affect everybody. So with that 4 of Cups, it might be because of Mercury retrograde right now, okay, for the month of March. But also I want to point out that you've got 4 major arcana cards, and major arcana cards, as I said, when you get a lot of them, when they're the majority of cards, it can mean that there are going to be bigger shifts in your life that are going to be permanent, and they're going to be outside of your control. Okay, there's nothing you can do, say, there's no decision you can make. They're just going to happen anyway. They're going to be outside factors in the relationship. And they also tell me pretty much what is the story behind the reading. So when we come here in your past influences, you do have two major arcana cards. So some of you Leos are coming out of big issues or shifts after Valentine's Day. That shadow side, yeah, it's a pretty intense card, very difficult, because it means it's about fighting back against negative influences, not being in bondage. Sometimes it can mean addiction, abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, a very toxic, dysfunctional relationship, which, you know, some of you Leos might be dealing with. But in other instances, it can simply mean, for instance, being so in love with someone that you can't let them go and you let that person take advantage of you. So the shadow side is about overcoming your demons and getting out of the darkness into the light. You see that light shining here. And the light illuminates everything. Light brings not only heat, but it exposes everything. And light is usually associated with truth as well. That's why the sun is such a good card to have as well. So yeah, lots of issues here. But then you have this king, this emperor, who rules over all the kings, by the way. And the emperor is very orderly. Sometimes the emperor can be very strict. Sometimes the emperor can lay down the law and say, okay, this is how it's going to be, and there's nothing you can do about it. So sometimes when you see the emperor, yes, there can be obstacles or rules that you have to abide by, that you have no power. And the emperor is an authority figure. It can also mean someone in the relationship has the upper hand over you. And so some of you Leos are in love and this person just keeps yanking your chain. That's what I'm talking about. So those are your first two major arcana. But then here you have the Tower. And yeah, the Tower is about clean sweep, start all over again, tear it all down, burn it all down. Sometimes, but it means that some of you Leos are dealing with an unexpected emergency or crisis, and it's not enjoyable. You're not going to like it, but it happens for a purpose. The Tower is there to remove spiritual and emotional blocks for your highest good. If something is not good for you, the Tower will come along and get rid of it. And so I see the Tower coming along after the shadow side and the emperor, and it's like the universe is saying, you know what, we need to do a little bit of cleanup here. We need to get past this. And so don't panic or be frightened, but there's a much needed change that needs to happen here. And there are a couple of things, a couple of behaviors, a couple of things that just need to be put out in the open. And it's not uncommon for the Tower to be a breakup where people need to take space. And so when it's followed by that Four of Pentacles, yes, someone emotionally is pulling back. You don't hear from someone. Maybe they might even want some space or break up. But you have that Ten of Wands that follows afterwards. This is the card of carrying a burden, being overwhelmed, but you don't have to deal with it for much longer. The other major arcana card is your High Priest or the Hierophant, and this is good because this can mean getting advice, seeking the help of someone who seeking the advice or getting help from someone who's in a more powerful position. It can also mean commitment. Sometimes it can mean counseling and talking things over, mediating and getting back on track. And it's very spiritual. It means getting to your, it means accepting your highest spiritual good. And it can also mean getting to a higher spiritual level, especially in the relationship. So once you go through the shadow side and the Emperor and the Tower, here comes the Hierophant in your future to say, okay, are we good here? Let's make sure we have no misunderstandings anymore. Let's make sure that we can communicate. So this could be, this Hierophant in your future could actually mean both of you being willing to resolve it, work it out, It can mean an important communication from someone not your lover or love interest who gives you important advice or tells you something that you need to know so that you can move forward. So your major arcana cards are giving me a little growth, a little bit of letting go, a little bit of counseling and advice that the relationship needs. Okay, so when we go here to the past, that Page of Swords comes before the shadow side in the Emperor. This is usually, it's a very confrontational card. It means confronting communication issues. It means finding the truth. And so it seems like from the past influences, some of you Leos are dealing with situations where tell me the truth, where do we stand, what's going on. Then when we get here, remember what I said, the Tower brings a big transition or change. Nothing will go back to the way it was, but it's also going to get you past this overwhelming issue that you've been worried about. And that's also fire. 10 of Wands, Wands represents fire. So it's the Oracle telling you, Leos, that this is all happening for a reason, and you're not going to have to deal with it much longer. So when we get to the future, as we go to the end of March and beyond, yes, you have that Hierophant coming in to get people talking, to the energy of working it out, clearing up misunderstandings, probably after Mercury retrograde is over. But then you have this lovely Nine of Pentacles, and once again, 10 means you're done and you start over. 9 means the end of a cycle, but it's also the happiness card. It's the prosperity card. It means the good life. Pentacles represent the material physical world. In a relationship reading, it can mean the physical, spending more time together physically, having some downtime together. Sometimes it can mean celebration and partying and enjoying yourself. And then this Ace of Swords is lovely as well, because it is the card of truth. It means new perspectives. It means new understandings. And so, yeah, you're going to come through this okay. So what you're seeing now is me shuffling and getting ready to pull that outcome card, that 10th card, which will wrap everything up. And so your journey, Leo, is basically getting rid of that which does not serve the relationship, being brave enough to confront it. So you get a Page of Cups, which is nice. Water and fire, yeah, traditionally they don't get along very well, but that Page of Cups is a pretty good indicator of the start of a new emotional beginning, because pages represent young children who are beginners, who are starting to learn. Also, pages can be, they can deliver messages, okay? And so a message of love, a message, a conversation where you two are able to emotionally reconnect again, okay, and start over. So that's a good thing. It means just back to square one, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes relationships have to have those ups and downs in order to get better. So that was your reading. Thanks to everyone, my subscribers and my clients, for supporting me. And all the lovely comments that you've posted and the personal emails. Some of you, you know, it's always good to hear that my readings are helping people and helping them to understand themselves. Remember, I have a special $15 for a personal reading, a video reading just like you had just now. So you might want to take advantage of that. I'll probably have this special until Easter. So take advantage of that for maybe the next 4 or 5 weeks. Mardi Gras was just a few days ago, so we have a little bit less than the 40 days until Easter. But thank you. Thank you to everyone. I'll see you next month. And as always, I wish you love and light.